My stepsister treated my house like her personal clubhouse, until I showed her the door. Original post. I, 26F, never thought I'd be writing here, but I need to know if I'm the villain my family is making me out to be. This is going to be long because there's so much context needed to understand how absolutely insane this situation has become. Let me start from the beginning. I'm a graphic designer who's been working freelance for 4 years now. After living in cramped apartments with nightmare roommates throughout college and my early 20s, I finally saved enough for a down payment on a small 2-bedroom house. It's nothing fancy, a 1960s ranch-style home in an older neighborhood, but it's mine. The mortgage payment is manageable, I have a dedicated office space for my work, and I finally have the peace and quiet I need to focus on growing my business. My dad remarried when I was 15 to Janet. She brought her daughter Emma into our blended family. Emma was 13 at the time, and we never really bonded. It wasn't animosity or anything dramatic. We were just two teenagers forced to share holidays and pretend we were sisters when we had nothing in common. I was focused on academics and already doing freelance design work in high school. Emma was more interested in social media, parties, and had this weird entitlement even back then where she'd take my things without asking and act shocked when I got upset. After high school, I went to college for graphic design, worked multiple jobs to avoid student loans, and gradually built my client base. Emma, on the other hand, dropped out of community college after 1 semester because it was too stressful. She's had probably 15 different retail jobs in the past 6 years, never lasting more than 3 months at any of them. There's always some drama, a manager who has it out for her, co-workers who are jealous, or schedules that are unreasonable. Currently, at 24, Emma lives with our parents rent-free. She doesn't contribute to household expenses, doesn't buy groceries, doesn't even do chores from what I've observed during my visits. Janet and my dad pay for her car insurance, cell phone, streaming subscriptions, and give her spending money whenever she asks. Their reasoning is always that she's finding herself, or going through a tough time, or just needs support right now. When I bought my house 6 months ago, the family response was mixed. My dad was proud but made comments about how I should remember where I came from and not let success go to my head. Janet was weirdly cold about it, making passive-aggressive remarks about how nice it must be to have everything work out so easily. Emma's response was the strangest. She immediately started talking about how great it would be to have a sister's house to hang out at. The problem started about 3 months ago. Emma texted me on a Monday morning asking if she could come over to escape the parental pressure for a bit. She said Janet was on her case about job hunting and she just needed a quiet place to think. I was working on a major project for a client, but I figured she'd just sit quietly on the couch while I worked in my office. How naive I was. She showed up at 11 a.m. with a massive iced coffee and immediately sprawled on my couch, turned on Netflix at full volume, and started texting loudly on her phone. Lots of dramatic sighing and laugh crying at whatever she was watching. I asked her to keep it down, and she rolled her eyes but lowered the volume slightly. Around 1 p.m., she went to my kitchen and I heard her rummaging around. She made herself a full meal using ingredients I'd bought for my week's meal prep, my expensive grass-fed beef, organic vegetables, and specialty bread I get from the local bakery. Emma, that food was for my planned meals this week, I said, trying to stay calm. Oh my God, it's just food. You can buy more. Don't be so stingy, she responded, already halfway through the sandwich that used about $15 worth of ingredients. She stayed until 6 p.m., left dishes in my sink, crumbs all over my couch, and used my bathroom where she somehow managed to use half a roll of toilet paper and left makeup stains on my white hand towels. The next day, she showed up again without asking. And the next. And the next. By the second week, Emma had established a routine: arrive at 11 a.m., eat my food, watch TV, nap on my couch, raid my pantry again around 3 p.m., and leave at 6 p.m. when she knew I'd be starting dinner. She treated my house like her personal retreat center while I was trying to run a business from my home office. I tried addressing it diplomatically. Emma, I'm happy you feel comfortable here, but I work from home. This is my office as well as my house. I need quiet during business hours, and I can't afford to feed 2 people every day. She laughed like I'd made a joke. You're literally just sitting at a computer. How hard can it be? I'm not even bothering you. I'm in the living room and you're in your office. Besides, you're making good money now, right? That's what Dad says. You just landed that big corporate client. Yes, I had landed a significant corporate client, but that didn't mean I was suddenly wealthy. My mortgage is $1,800 a month, property taxes add another $400 monthly, insurance is $150, utilities usually run about $150, and I have to pay for my own health insurance, retirement savings, and set aside money for taxes since I'm self-employed. Plus, that corporate client demanded extremely high-quality work with tight deadlines, The kind of focus that's impossible when someone is treating your living room like a social club. By the third week, things escalated. Emma started bringing her laundry over, claiming our parents' washer was acting weird. She'd run 3 or 4 loads while she was lounging around, using my expensive eco-friendly detergent. She began showering at my house too, saying she preferred my water pressure. These hour-long showers destroyed my hot water supply for the evening, and I could hear her using my high-end hair products through the bathroom door. Then came the friends. I was on a video call with a client when I heard multiple voices in my living room. I had to mute myself and apologize to the client, claiming technical difficulties. When I investigated, I found Emma with 3 of her friends, all of them drunk at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, playing music through my Bluetooth speaker system. "What the hell is this?" I demanded. "Chill out. We're just hanging out." "This is what people with houses do, they have friends over," Emma slurred slightly. "Get off. All of you now." Her friends left quickly, but Emma stayed to argue. "You're such a fucking buzzkill. No wonder you don't have any friends. You have this whole house, and you just sit in it alone like a hermit." "I'm working. This is my job. And I do have friends, I just see them on weekends when I'm not working." She stormed out, and I thought that would be the end of it. But she was back 2 days later like nothing had happened. When I refused to let her in, she actually called our dad while standing on my porch, crying about how I was excluding her and being cruel. My dad called me immediately. "Just let her in. She's your sister and she's having a hard time. Is it really such a big deal?" Against my better judgment, I let her back in with strict rules. No friends, no laundry, quiet activities only, and she had to bring her own food. That lasted exactly 1 day before she was back to her old behavior. The financial hit. Last month, I received my utility bill and nearly had a heart attack. $400. My normal bill, even in the height of summer, never exceeded $150. But Emma had been cranking the AC down to 65 degrees, I usually keep it at 72, leaving every light on, running the dishwasher daily, I usually run it twice a week, doing multiple loads of laundry, and those hour-long showers had my water bill attached looking like a small mortgage payment. I also noticed my internet had been running slowly. When I checked my router settings, I discovered 14 unknown devices connected to my network. 14. When I confronted Emma, she casually admitted she'd given my Wi-Fi password to her friends so they could have good internet when they hang out. She'd also logged into my Netflix, HBO Max, Disney Plus, and Amazon Prime on multiple devices that weren't mine. "You shared my streaming services with random people?" "They're not random, they're my friends. And you weren't using all the screens anyway." "That's not the point. Those are MY accounts, paid for with MY money, for MY use." "God, you're so selfish. This is why everyone thinks you're stuck up now that you have money." I immediately changed every password, upgraded my router security, and set up 2-factor authentication on everything. Then I calculated the damages, extra utilities, $250, food she'd consumed, at least $300 to $400 over the month, products she'd used, another $50, and the wear and tear on my home. We're talking about nearly $1,000 in additional expenses because of her, and that's not even counting the lost work time from interruptions. When I presented this to her, she laughed. "You're seriously billing your sister for hanging out? That's psychotic." "No, what's psychotic is treating someone's home like your personal playground and then acting like they're wrong for having boundaries." The parent trap. That evening, my dad and Janet requested a family meeting at their house. I knew it was an ambush, but I went anyway, armed with my utility bills and a detailed list of Emma's infractions. The moment I walked in, I could see they'd already decided I was the villain. They were sitting on the couch with Emma between them, her eyes red from clearly manufactured tears. "We need to talk about your treatment of Emma," Janet started, her voice dripping with disapproval. "My treatment of her? She's been freeloading off me for months." "She's your sister," my dad said firmly. "Family helps family. I've been helping. I've let her disrupt my work, eat my food, run up my bills, and disrespect my home for 3 months." "Emma told us you screamed at her in front of her friends," Janet said. "You humiliated her. She brought drunk people to my house at 2 p.m. while I was with a client." "Young people socialize," Janet said dismissively. "Not everyone is antisocial like you." "I'm not antisocial. I'm working. From home. During business hours." My dad pulled out the guilt trips. "When I married Janet, I promised to treat Emma like my own daughter. I expected you to treat her like a real sister. We're a blended family. Being family doesn't mean she gets unlimited access to my resources." "You're being dramatic," Janet said. It's just some food and TV time. You make good money now. Emma told us about your fancy client. Would it kill you to share your success? I'm not successful because things were handed to me. I worked for this. I saved for years for that down payment while living in terrible apartments. I built my business from nothing. Emma could do the same if she kept a job for more than 5 minutes. That's when Emma chimed in with the waterworks. I'm sorry I'm not perfect like you. I'm sorry I'm struggling. I thought my sister would be there for me, but clearly, your money matters more than family. This isn't about money, it's about respect. The meeting devolved from there. They accused me of being materialistic, selfish, and forgetting where I came from. They said I'd changed since becoming successful, said with air quotes and disdain. They even brought up how I hadn't contributed to Emma's birthday present fund last month, ignoring that Emma was literally stealing from me daily. I left that meeting knowing nothing would change. They would always enable Emma, and I would always be the bad guy for having boundaries. The escalation. I thought things couldn't get worse after I changed all my locks and passwords. Emma hadn't attempted to come over for a week, and while family dinners were tense, at least I had my space back. Then Mrs. Chen, my next-door neighbor, knocked on my door one evening. Hi dear, I don't mean to be nosy, but I saw your sister here earlier today when your car wasn't in the driveway. She was at your front door for quite a while, then went around back. She seemed upset when she left. My blood went cold. I'd been at a client meeting downtown all afternoon. Emma had tried to enter my house knowing I wasn't home. Did she have anyone with her? Yes, actually. A man I didn't recognize. Older, maybe 30s. They were both trying your doors and windows. I immediately ordered security cameras, a doorbell camera, one for the driveway, and one covering the back door. I also installed a smart lock system that would log every entry attempt. The installation cost me $800 I hadn't budgeted for, but I needed the peace of mind. The first day the cameras were active, they captured something that made my stomach turn. At 2:17 p.m., while my car was clearly in the driveway indicating I was home, Emma approached with a man I'd never seen before. She tried her old key in my new lock, then attempted to jimmy the lock with what looked like a credit card. When that failed, they walked around my house, checking every window. The man was taking photos of my house with his phone. I called the police immediately and reported an attempted break-in in progress. I stayed locked in my office, watching the camera feed as Emma and this stranger eventually gave up and sat in a beat-up Honda Civic in front of my house. The police arrived within 15 minutes. I watched Emma's face transform from annoyed to panicked as the officers approached. I came outside to speak with them, showing the footage on my phone. That's my stepsister. She used to have a key, but I changed the locks due to previous issues. As you can see, she tried to break in anyway. The man with Emma turned out to have an outstanding warrant for theft and was arrested immediately. Emma wasn't arrested but received a formal warning for attempted breaking and entering and criminal trespass. This is insane. Emma screamed as the man was put in the patrol car. She's my sister. I was just trying to visit. Ma'am, attempting to jimmy a lock is not visiting, the officer told her firmly. And you've been formally notified not to return to this property without permission. Update 1. The Key Conspiracy. 2 days later, I stopped by Peterson's Hardware to grab some paint samples. Mr. Peterson, who'd helped me with numerous projects since I bought the house, waved me over. Glad you're here. Your sister came by yesterday with an odd request. Wanted to make copies of a key, said it was for your house and you'd asked her to get spares for contractors. I know you're particular about security, so I told her I'd need to confirm with you first. She what? She had an old key and wanted 4 copies. Got pretty nasty when I refused, actually. Tried to go to my teenage employee when I was with another customer. Thank you for not making them. That's really concerning. There's more, he said, looking uncomfortable. She mentioned she'd already gotten some copies made a few weeks ago, before you changed the locks. Said something about you being paranoid and changing locks for no reason. I spent the rest of the day visiting every hardware store and locksmith within a 15-mile radius. 3 more places confirmed Emma had been there attempting to get keys made. One admitted they'd made her 2 copies about a month prior, before I'd changed the locks. This meant Emma had potentially given keys to my home to multiple people before I'd changed the locks. The man with the warrant could have had access to my house. I documented everything with written statements from the store owners and immediately consulted a lawyer. Update 2. Legal protection. My lawyer, Ms. Rodriguez, was a godsend. She reviewed everything, the security footage, the police report, the statements from the hardware stores, my documentation of Emma's behavior over the months. "This is stalking and harassment," she said bluntly. "The key situation elevates this to potential conspiracy to commit burglary. You need a restraining order immediately." We filed for an emergency protective order that day. Within 48 hours, Emma was served with papers prohibiting her from coming within 100 yards of my property, my workplace, or contacting me directly. The family explosion was nuclear. My dad showed up at my house within hours of Emma being served, pounding on my door so hard I thought it might break. "A restraining order against your sister." I talked to him through the doorbell camera, refusing to open the door. "Dad, she tried to break into my house with a criminal. She's been trying to make unauthorized copies of my keys. This is beyond normal family issues. She told us she was planning to surprise you by cleaning your house as an apology. The man was a handyman. A handyman with an arrest warrant? And she was going to clean by breaking in? Dad, listen to yourself. You're killing your stepmother. She's been crying all day. How could you do this to our family?" Emma did this. She chose to violate my boundaries repeatedly. She chose to attempt breaking and entering. She chose to involve criminals. I'm just protecting myself. "You're dead to me," he spat before storming off. Janet took a different approach, sending me long, guilt-laden emails about Emma's fragile mental state and how my cruelty was pushing her toward a breakdown. She claimed Emma had been coming to my house because it was her safe space away from the pressure of job hunting. I responded once, "A safe space doesn't require breaking in. Emma needs professional help, not unlimited access to my home." Update 3. The hidden damage. Preparing for the restraining order hearing required documenting all damages and losses. My lawyer suggested doing a thorough inventory of my belongings. What I discovered made me sick. First, the obvious thefts. My grandmother's pearl earrings were missing from my jewelry box. A designer watch I'd bought myself after landing my first major client, gone. The emergency cash I kept in various spots around the house, about $300 total, all missing. Then the identity theft. My credit card statements showed dozens of small purchases I didn't make. DoorDash orders delivered to my address when I wasn't home. Amazon purchases of clothes in Emma's size. Subscriptions to various services I'd never heard of. All using my saved payment information from when Emma had access to my Wi-Fi and devices. A full credit check revealed 2 credit inquiries, one for a Nordstrom card and one for a personal loan. Both were thankfully rejected due to incomplete information, but the attempts were there. More disturbing was what I found in my home office. My external hard drive containing client work backups was missing. My iPad, which I thought I'd misplaced, was gone. Even my business checks were missing from my desk drawer, only discovered when I went to pay a vendor. I filed a police report for identity theft and fraud. The detective assigned to my case found that Emma had been running a small online business, using my address, my internet, and occasionally my identity. She'd been selling items on Facebook Marketplace and having buyers come to my address when I wasn't home. Update 4. The hearing. The restraining order hearing was set for 2 weeks after the emergency order. Emma showed up with our parents but no lawyer, apparently thinking she could talk her way out of it. She started with tears and manipulation. "Your Honor, this is just a misunderstanding between sisters. We've always been close, and I don't understand why she suddenly turned on me." My lawyer presented our evidence methodically. Security footage of the attempted break-in. Police reports for both the break-in and identity theft. Statements from 5 different hardware stores about key copying attempts. Credit card fraud documentation totaling over $2,000. Testimony from 3 neighbors about seeing strangers at my house when I wasn't home. Screenshots of Emma's texts essentially admitting to everything but claiming it was no big deal. Emma's story kept changing. First, she denied everything. Then she claimed I'd given her permission to use my cards for emergencies. Then she said she was borrowing things with the intention to pay me back. Finally, when presented with the security footage, she broke down and admitted she'd been using my house as a base for her business ventures and had been stealing from me to fund her lifestyle. "My parents cut off my money," she sobbed. "They said I had to get a job or move out. I just needed time to get my business going." The judge granted a 2-year restraining order and strongly recommended criminal prosecution. Update 5. The aftermath. The criminal case moved forward. Emma ultimately pleaded guilty to misdemeanor theft and identity fraud to avoid jail time. She received 2 years probation, 200 hours of community service, mandatory therapy, and was ordered to pay me $3,000 in restitution, which I doubt I'll ever see. The family imploded. My dad and Janet initially cut me off completely, telling everyone I'd destroyed Emma's future over petty sibling rivalry. They painted me as a vindictive, money-obsessed monster who'd turned on family the moment I found success. But the truth has a way of surfacing. My aunt called me after Emma was caught stealing from her purse at a family barbecue. 2 cousins reached out after Emma tried to get them to co-sign for a car loan using falsified employment documents. Janet's own sister admitted Emma had been banned from her house 3 years ago for stealing jewelry. The most shocking revelation came from my stepbrother, Janet's son from her first marriage, who I barely knew. He called me out of the blue. I wanted to say, "I'm sorry you're going through this. Emma did the same thing to me 5 years ago when I got my first apartment. She had keys made, stole from me, brought sketchy people over. When I tried to set boundaries, Mom made me out to be the villain. I ended up moving to another state partly to get away from it all." Last week, Janet called me. Her voice was different, tired, defeated. "I owe you an apology. We found Emma's been lying about everything. She was never job hunting. She was running some kind of illegal business with those people. She stole my credit card last week. We found my mother's missing jewelry in her room. The therapist says she might have antisocial personality disorder." "I appreciate you telling me this," I said carefully. "Your father is struggling to accept it. He feels guilty for how he treated you. We both do. I understand, but I'm not ready to forgive and forget. This has been traumatic for me. I had to spend thousands on security, legal fees, and replacing what was stolen. I lost clients because of the chaos. But more than that, you both abandoned me when I needed support. I know. We failed you. We enabled her and vilified you. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know we see the truth now." Reflection. It's been 2 months since the restraining order was finalized. My house is peaceful again. I can work without interruption, my bills are back to normal, and I don't have to worry about coming home to strangers in my living room or finding my belongings missing. I've installed a comprehensive security system, built relationships with my neighbors who now look out for me, and I've been in therapy to process the betrayal and gaslighting I experienced. My therapist has helped me understand that I'm not responsible for Emma's choices or my parents' enabling. My business is thriving now that I can focus. I've actually expanded my client base and increased my rates. The peace of mind of knowing my home is secure has allowed me to be more creative and productive. Some family members have reached out with support and apologies. Others still think I overreacted. I've learned that's okay. I don't need everyone to understand or approve of my boundaries. To anyone dealing with a similar situation, document everything. Trust your instincts. Don't let family be used as a weapon against your well-being and safety. You have the right to peace in your own home, security in your identity, and respect for your boundaries. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable someone's destructive behavior, even when it costs you relationships you thought mattered. My door is now locked to those who don't respect it, and for the first time in months, I feel truly safe in the home I worked so hard to achieve. The family I thought I had may be fractured, but I've discovered something more valuable: self-respect and the knowledge that I can protect myself, even from those who claim to love me.